Alright guys, it's pretty much the same day as recording the last video on PoE, and obviously there's been a patch and there's been a few more videos. There's been a large video from Mathel. He basically says that he doesn't enjoy the direction of the game, and or should I say he's a little bit concerned about the direction of the game. And I'm here to come at it from a slightly different perspective. Okay, streamers, they are not the reason a game is good or bad is not the streamer. And it's not the streamer's job to tell GGG what to do to make a good game. They're just people that play the game, you enjoy watching them, and that's all it should be. However, we do know that there's a tremendous amount of money to be made in Path of Exile. We've seen subathons for the Path of Exile 2 release. We've all seen them. We all know who does them. Incredible amounts of money, and that's not even to say they weren't entertaining. Some of them were entertaining, some of them were absolutely grim cash grabs, but you know, we live. But the point is, I just think there are a lot of streamers out there, and are a lot of content creators that could have very easily seen this coming and could have very easily helped the direction of the game, if not for their own sake, to have a good popular game to play and make money off, but the community's sake or whatever. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it's the streamer's fault we're sat playing this bad version of Path of Exile. Absolutely not. But it does make me chuckle. It does make me chuckle when it's like, it's taboo to talk about the game looking bad. When the game was announced all those years ago, me and my friends, we were like, this actually doesn't sound good. There's probably videos on the channel, and you can talk to my friend Jamie, and we were all like, the idea of slowing everything down, the idea of these combination skills, I don't like the sound of this. I think they're forgetting that most people want to put on a trance mix and blast some maps and enjoy themselves. I think it's been lost on people over specifically the last few years. The last 2 years, there's been a really big growth in like content on PoE. I've seen it. There's always been build guides. There's always been, content. But the min-max, this is how to make X amount of money, really took off in the last 2 years. And everything became a little bit silly. Everything became like, it's almost like you can't critique. It's like you just can't critique the game, or you're just a hater, or you're not into Path of Exile, or if you're not doing this strat, you're useless and your opinion doesn't matter and you're a casual and blah blah blah. No. I'm telling you that when this game came out and we saw that very initial trailer where he had a crossbow and he like set the guy on fire and then he like weapon swapped or something and detonated it, and then there was a freeze monster. It was a highly resistant to cold, and he weapon swapped into fire damage and did fire damage to kill him. Everyone was like, oh my god, this is insane, this is so good. Me and my friends all sat there and thought the same thing. If this is a thing they're showing off, this is a thing they're going to force on you. The same with the dodge roll. The dodge roll, you think, oh, that looks pretty cool. All characters have a movement skill now. Yeah, but when the game is designed around the dodge roll, then all of a sudden you don't have an extra dodge roll. You have something you have to use. So when you're fighting these endgame bosses or these big tier maps, they will one-shot you. It doesn't matter what resist you've got. It doesn't matter how tanky you are. They will one-shot you unless you iframe roll at the correct time. So it doesn't matter how good your build is. It doesn't matter how clever you've built it. You're always going to have to dodge roll. And that's tiring. That's mentally fatiguing, and it's okay for a couple of maps, but over and over and over and over, league after league after league. It was very easy to see this coming. Very easy to see this coming. But when we tried to raise points, we were told we were casual, we wanted the game to be like PoE 1, and particular, the big streamers pushed this agenda of, oh, boo-hoo, you're crying because you're bad. We want this Dark Souls style gameplay, and it looks all awesome. I truly represent the hardcore casual. I think what most people want from Path of Exile is you load in and you start the campaign and you know your build's going to kick ass at the end of it. So you stick with the campaign. And the campaign at moments is a bit rough, but you're going through zone and zone and zone, and zones are changing. Visually, things are changing. Occasionally you pick up an upgrade and your build begins to ramp with levels, the skill tree is good, the ascendancies, your first two are nice and easy and give you a good chunk of power, and towards sort of level 40, 50, you're beginning to think, yeah, I've got a bit of a build here, and then the scaling happens. Then eventually you get into maps, and if you know what you're doing, okay, I've got my life resist set out, okay, time to chuck on some music, it's time to pick my favourite content to blast for a few hours, and then I'm going bed. When I finish work, I'm in maps, probably again, make some food, I've got an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, I'm going to chill, level up, blast some maps, enjoy myself. What people are not looking for is the thing that they've created now, which streamers and content creators seem to absolutely buzz off, is this, we want a Dark Souls campaign. So what is now happening is the game is kind of becoming like this. Rather than saying, what build are you playing? Did you do XYZ? What's your end game strat? The type of person they're aiming this game at is kind of saying, oh, did you manage to beat Path of Exile 2? Yeah, I did it with a Huntress. Oh yeah, man. That Act 4 campaign boss was so difficult. And then GGG are saying, but if you want to play an awesome, super detailed endgame, that's still there, guys. That's still there for you. So all the people that love grinding, you can put up with this shit, and then you can begin the endgame grind. But what they're not realising is the vast majority of people don't want to have a goddamn miserable time when playing a video game. You're typically playing Path of Exile because you're maybe older and you don't have the reflexes or just the buzz or competitive mentality anymore. Maybe you've got a bit older to sit and sweat Call of Duty or Warzone or, you know, some multiplayer game. You know that on PoE, you can pause the game when you want, play the game when you want, put it down when you want. You know, so your kid starts crying, you can portal out. You're not stuck in a game, and you also, it's your time. So for that 2 hour block where you're, you know, you've sectioned off your little block, these are the times I've got. For 2 hours, you can do what you want. You're not held hostage by a bad teammate in a MOBA game or something. Those 2 hours are yours, and you know you're going to get some progression. In PoE 2, the idea of this absolute slog of like, wow, it's going to be such a battle when you come across a rare, and it's going to be such a sick piece of combat, and then if an Exile pops into the game, it's going to be this amazing piece of daring content, and you're going to tell your friends, oh yeah, I beat this Exile. People are going to post clips online of them ripping to the Exile. Like, no. There might be some people out there that have never touched Path of Exile and love Dark Souls and want to tell the friends that they beat Path of Exile 2. Okay. Again, PoE is a very simple game. Every person I talk to that plays the game a lot says the same thing. I want to chuck music on and play the game and have fun. Where did we have the first big problem in PoE 1? Like, I'm talking like major problem where everyone went, don't know what people are doing here. Arch Nemesis. And why was Arch Nemesis such a big fucking problem? Because when that motherfucker appeared, you could die, and you had to super concentrate and outplay the shit out of it, and you could die. Why was that a problem? Because then, all of a sudden, your flow state of putting on your headphones, putting on your trance music, whatever, your rock music, blasting through maps, all of a sudden, now, the whole time you're looking at ground effects, which modifiers are on this rare, can this one-shot me, and it became very fatiguing. That's what Path of Exile 2 is, very fatiguing. You can go on for a half an hour stint and really focus and think, you know what, that wasn't that bad. You don't want to play through that whole campaign in one sitting. You don't want to do the campaign multiple times. You just don't. It's just not fun. The big weird thing that GGG just announced was basically, zones are too big, we agree. We're going to add more checkpoints. And this to me shows they don't know what they're doing. Because it doesn't matter if the zone is 5 hours long and it has 63,000 checkpoints in it. It would be boring. When people are playing a campaign, they like to go through lots of little zones to feel progression. Hey, I've gone through the ship. Think about the ship graveyard is a whole zone in Path of Exile 1. You can literally Quicksilver, blink arrow through the zone in about 15 seconds. Then you're changing into a different looking zone. Then you're changing into a different looking zone. The problem with PoE 2 is you load into the Act 3 river where you've got to turn all those bloody water tanks on and off. You can be in there for... If you don't know what you're doing, I imagine you could be in there for multiple hours. I really do. You could be in there for multiple hours just experiencing the same environment. It doesn't matter if there was 50 checkpoints. It's not fun. There should be way more zones that are a lot shorter that you traverse in, rather than here are 4, 3, 5, 6, whatever, massive zones that you just have to get through. It doesn't matter how many checkpoints you put in. So what they're trying to tell you is kind of like, nah, you got it wrong. Once there's more checkpoints, once we've balanced everything, it'll be really fun. I'm telling you, I genuinely don't think GGG know what they're doing, because think of it from their perspective. What do? Do they backpedal on everything they've just done? And then they go, well, why did we make PoE 2? Do they push through and try find a new audience? Very difficult. I think they're in a very tough spot here. And I think we could have seen it coming. And if streamers were more honest and more critical and more balanced, then I think we could have maybe looked at these problems a little bit earlier. Because I'm telling you, when that very first combination skill was showcased and they said some things will be super resistant to lightning, you're going to have to weapon swap to your passive tree that has fire damage on it, which, by the way, nobody fucking does because that whole system doesn't work. Are we just not mentioning that? Because as far as I'm aware, you don't really have 2 passive skill trees for different things. It's not like, hey, this is my single target skill tree, this is my AoE skill tree. It's just some weird jank that nobody really quite understands, because sometimes you're like, have I used my second set skills, or have they gone on my first? Like, there's just a lot wrong with the game. And I think we could have identified these problems a lot earlier, but it was almost like, hush hush, don't say anything, you just don't know what you're doing, and this game's awesome. I mean, the hype generated for the PoE 2 launch was genuinely unbelievable, because when we were playing it, me and my friends were like, I wonder if we're going to like this. And we didn't really like it. It just has no flow state. It lacks any, like, you're just not getting in and then you get the end game. So you go through all this slog, right? Imagine you get your character going. Where is the flow state? Having to manage this irritating atlas over and over and over again. People like putting 50 maps in a tab, rolling them, getting their juice going, and thinking to themselves, for the next week, I know what I'm doing, and this is what I'm doing. The PoE 2 endgame is like, you're going to have to constantly travel to certain nodes. It's basically kind of forcing everybody into Delve. And you going, oh, damn, I don't quite like this biome, it's irritating. PoE has now become a game where you just can't farm the map that you like. How crazy is that? Think about all the problems. Like, this is where PoE is cooked. They are undoing things that we solved. We used to have people managing elder blobs so they could sustain their favourite map, trying to get shaper orbs so they could get their favourite map. Everybody wanted their favourite map because people like farming their favourite map. You don't get bothered by people. You're not in multiplayer. You're farming the thing that you want. Now, not only do you have this diabolically boring long campaign with an awful passive tree and just whatever, even if you put up with all that slog, you get to the end game, it's just more irritation. So that I think they've got a hell of a lot of work to do.